On the East Coast, it is 12 minutes after 8 o'clock, Saturday night, December 19th. I'm Dave Cloven. You're not. And you probably don't want to be. It's 87 degrees under black skies in Fleming Island, Florida. A beautiful starlit night up there. I am Dave Cloven, as I said, and with me is Randy, the genealogist Rhodes. Tonight it's open topics. Say what you will and mean what you say. And we'll all have a good time. Anything is on the table that people want to discuss. Gas prices, high, low. Electric bills going to be high, low. Should Ukraine get a refund on its sale to Russia? A lot of other things that could come up. Join us in the Boogie with the Bull YouTube live chat. If you're watching on Facebook, you will see it in the news feed, and you'll see it on my profile. Come and join us. Hopefully it'll get shared around Facebook. Hopefully it'll get over to YouTube. Over to Streetlock and a few other places. If not, it'll all get shared after the broadcast. Please come and subscribe to the Boogie with the Bull YouTube channel. Watch the broadcast. Some of them are ours, some are others. If you are someone who does a conservative patriot broadcast and you would like to link it to the Boogie with the Bull YouTube channel, we will help you get it shared all over Facebook, all over social media networks as well. And I even understand that Boogie with the Bull, even though I am not active on truthsocial.com, is being shared on truthsocial.com. But anyway, we'll go into tonight's program. We'll kick it over to Mr. Rhodes for an opening statement. And then, like I said, the live chat's open. And let's just do it. This is a 1-hour broadcast. Take notes. There will be a test.
Oh, God, I should have studied. Okay, so we just had a major thunderstorm coming through Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, home of the Amish, Mennonites, Dunkards, Quakers, and other plain type of people, as well as us English people, as they call us. It is currently 61 degrees. It is dark out, like David indicated, and it is a muggy. Other than that, it's not too bad of a night. Winter here, I don't know where you guys at, but we had no winter. I think all this together, we might have had 2.5 inches of snow. That's about it. So I was disappointed, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. So my opening statement hasn't changed much, but a little bit of a difference in some of my topics for tonight. Sports. I'm not a sports guy, never have been, never will be. Just because growing up, I never really was a very healthy boy. When I was a preteen, I had some health issues, and one of the bright remarks out of a doctor's mouth to my mom was, "Hey, get him outside, get him some exercise. It's good for his health." So she did. I ran a block around the house, came down with rheumatic fever the next day. Hey, good health. Haven't been much in sports ever since. But you know what? You know, this woke nation that we have right now, allowing men, individuals, humans, entities to be born as a male who late in life decides, you know what? I suck at men's sports, but I bet you I could beat it at women's sports. I'm going to say I'm a female, and I'm going to join female sports. Boom!
I think last night on Michael Anthony's Friday night broadcast, I think I have the transgendered quote of the week, and it's so good that I think I'm going to have it printed under pictures of me and sign it. I said, I heard that Caitlyn Jenner has her little Bruceys hanging from the rearview mirror of her car.
Is that individual totally denuded? Do we know for sure?
I actually don't know that it's true. I just put it in there for the hell of it because I needed something to make me laugh because I'm actually tired of hearing the transgender sports thing. And when you and I have discussed it, or Michael's been around, or Jen's been around, or Randy Riesenbeck has been around, I've said the same thing every time. There's going to come a time in high school sports where they're going to have a third. They're going to have two other leagues: a men's football team, a girls' football team, and a transgender football team. Probably male to female, and female to male. So because it goes both ways. It's not just guys becoming girls; it's girls becoming guys, and it works. And it works both ways too, because Chastity Bono, who is now Chaz Bono, the son of Sonny and Cher Bono, was born a male, became a female, and has given birth to a child.
Right. Because she retained her female organs. But what I'm trying to say is,
I do not believe so. I believe with him it was a full blown conversion.
Okay, so how? Okay, let's
because she, I think, knew all along that she was a boy in a girl's body.
Okay, let's table that conversation.
Just like Bruce Jenner said, he knew when he was 8 years old that he was going to have to at some point have the surgery done. I call him a hypocrite, as I have before, because the reason he had it done when he did was because he didn't want to lose. He was making bucks as an Olympic athlete and a news sports guy, and he didn't want to give all that up. Then, when he was comfortable enough and he had the money and he wasn't worried about anything, he had it done. She got his money, which is a classic male-female story anyway. She ended up with all his money, and there you go.
Okay, let's table that part of the conversation so I can finish this thought process. So you have these guys who stuck at men's sports, who decided to go into female sports, and they're making a killing of it. They're outpacing the girls in the sports and swimming or the track because they have the muscle capacity of a male, which unfortunately is far superior of that of a female in the same sports program. And I don't think it's fair. Now, even if they get denutted, okay? I mean, totally, there's like a dog being neutered. They cut the nuts off. My question is, I'm not sure if you have the medical, answer to it.
I don't. I don't. I mean, if you cut off the hardware, and you don't rewire and convert things from one extreme to another extreme, then the question would be whether or not you would be able to give birth. And then still, my question is that even if you did the full-blown plumbing and you swapped out the parts and accessories that you were born with to the parts and accessories that you need, I don't know if what was a male body can naturally release a child, or if it has to be a cesarean section. That I don't know.
See, you're making the assumption of my question. That's not my question. So my question is this: the muscular mass of a male is superior to a woman's muscular mass. So my question is, if denuding a male, giving the guy the female hormones, does that decrease down a muscle mass, making them equal in muscle mass to a woman, so they're actually equal in the sports capacity? I don't care about giving birth.
Well, then let me ask you this. If a girl weighs 250 pounds and she's 6 feet tall, built like an Irish quarterback, and she works out and turns that fat into muscle and has the equal body to muscle mass of a guy, the same size and the equal strength of a guy, is that the same?
I don't know, because you would think that in an opposing track team or swim team, they're getting slammed. You think another school team would find a swimmer, female, 100% female swimmer, who has that weight, that muscle mass to go against that team who is obviously cheating by having a male as a female, going against an all-female team. I mean, come on. How does that? You saw how they were standing, receiving their medals. Now they are totally devastated. The school who's putting up that team with that male as a female, they obviously got no morals. Okay, you would think that they would, dismiss themselves from any sports events because of that. Or the schools, who are going into a sporting events on behalf of the girls, instead of making them go against that player, say, you know what? I'm not going to put my girls in that situation.
I just want to interrupt for a second, which I do all the time anyway. Thanks to Vicky Schaffner, who put us on Twitter tonight, shared us all over Facebook tonight, got us on Getter, MeWe, Truth Social, even though I'm not on Truth Social, and they're trying to help me get on Truth Social, Instagram, which most of us call Insta Spam, and Parler. If you can do Telegram, Vicky, throw that in as long as you're there. And Randy Rhodes said we'll give you a raise for the fine sharing job that
out of his budget.
Out of my budget. And I will say that Vicky Schaffner, for those of you on Facebook that know her, had the group Prepping Nation. It was 109,000 members. And you know what happens on Facebook when you're a conservative patriot group with 109,000 members? They eventually take it away from you and they wipe out all of your members. It's now landed over on Streetlock, STREETLOC.com, streetlock.com. It's in the public groups. And I've been telling anybody on Facebook that might have been in it and it's gone now on Facebook, join Streetlock and at least get active with it over there. I never tell people to leave Facebook. I just tell people to expand your social media horizon. So if something was on Facebook and is no longer on Facebook and it lands someplace else, then by all means go over there. STREETLOC.com. Boogie with the Bull broadcast will be moving there Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. That's where the broadcast, the new broadcast, we'll talk about the schedule later. The new schedule is Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. and some other ones that I'll mention later. Those are going to be based over on Streetlock through YouTube, but over on Streetlock and then passed around like everybody is doing. So anyone in the live chat, Billy Rose, Vicky Schaffner, anyone else who is watching, if I don't see you in the live chat, you have to be in the YouTube live chat, chat, which is on the Boogie with the Bull YouTube channel, or the post that you see in the Facebook newsfeed or on the Dave Logan profile. One of those two on Facebook will bring you into the Boogie with the Bull YouTube live chat. It's only on Facebook. Any place else we share it to, YouTube live chat seems to work and it gets to us. So it's a Facebook thing. But open discussion tonight, Randy Rhodes and I. Anything that crosses our brains or people in the live chat bring in and want to discuss. It's Saturday night on Boogie with the Bull, and if you're home, come in and join us, Mr. Rhodes.
I'm just checking something here about my question.
Okay. What was the question? I was too busy.
Does a man going through a female exchange lose muscle mass?
I can't tell you because I don't understand physiology enough to know if they're what they're doing, but I have to agree that it has to work both ways. That if you are if you come with a female skeleton in your body and you change to becoming a man, I don't know how it would affect your physiology, only because there's only so, your brain is programmed to go a certain way and to operate a certain body, a particular body that you're in. It doesn't necessarily mean, because I don't know the science again, that you're in the right body, but it can only operate the body that it's in. It may know that it's not in the right body and operate as much as it can, but it's also going to tell you at some point that it needs to be the right body. So, I mean, I really can't tell you. I would love to have a physiologist or people, a genealogist, whatever ologists we need on a Boogie with the Bull broadcast to explain it to us, or jump into the live chat now and
quick read through this.
Answer the questions, or jump on camera and answer the question live. So anyone who's out there that thinks they are qualified to do so, come on into the live chat and tell me who you are, and we'll bring you in. Not just someone who wants to come in and say, no, they can't, or yes, they can, who's watching, but if you actually have the knowledge one way or another, professionally, jump on in and be part of the either the live chat or
either way, debald or bald, a man has more muscle mass than a female, and I'm sorry, they should not be allowed to compete against 100% female. They should have a third sporting arena where transgender men compete against transgender men, and same for transgender women. I bet you, if they put him in a swimming pool with other transgender men, they would be on an equal basis, and they wouldn't as well. Same with the track meets. I'm sorry, that is not fair. It's like that one girl who was there on a scholarship. She practiced forever, and she needed that win to go on to stay in college on the scholarship. And because of him, and I'm saying him, because of him taking first place, she dropped down to fourth place, and she lost the scholarship, and she had to leave college. I'm sorry, that is not fair. Period. In anyone's world. Anyway, so that's my thing on the sports, and that goes for high school as well, guys and gals. The other thing is, did you see where Russia launched two supersonic? Did you see where Russia launched two supersonic missiles into Ukraine to supposedly destroy underground munitions warehouses that they didn't want to fall into Ukrainian hands. Supposed Russian munition storage areas from before, and they didn't want them to fall into Ukrainian hands. So the only way to do that was to launch these missiles, which have capability of actually being loaded with nuclear tip missiles as well.
Okay, but were they nukes or were they not nukes?
They were not.
They're missiles that could be nuked.
Correct. Okay. So the thought is the fact that they were successfully launched from inside Russia. They hit their targets. The thought now is that they are, preparing us for possibly launching strategic nuclear missiles if things don't get turned around soon.
I just don't see him doing it only because he needs China as his ally in this. And if he launches a nuke on Ukraine and starts a war, a world war in Europe, everybody against Russia, then there's a greater risk that everybody around Russia in Europe will launch a nuke into Russia. And the fact that if that were to happen, then China has to decide whether or not they drop a big nuke on Russia to stop it or do something, team up with the United States, because, Michael Anthony, I asked him the question last time the three of us were together. Does China need Russia to take over the world? Or does China need Russia's help to take for Russia to try to attempt to take over the United States of America? Do they need Russia's help? And his answer was no. And the person who could probably give us more experience on that, Bill Muckler, couldn't be with us tonight. He had a very busy day yesterday and a equally busy day today. He was over at Cape Canaveral and he's out for dinner this evening. And I got him late notice that we were going to be live. I believe he's going to be with us on Wednesday, but Bill can answer that question, having been a captain in the Marines for a long time. But my question is, I don't think Russia is going to drop a nuke in Ukraine because they're like you said, they're destroying certain things that they think need to be destroyed. Their own weaponry, their own arsenals of weapons and war supplies that they don't want to give to Ukraine. But when it's all said and done and Ukraine belongs to the USSR again, he's got to be able to go in and, fix it up again and get it working and productive again, more than dropping a nuke on it and just blowing it to hell.
Well, that's why you would use the strategic nuclear missiles like a Hiroshima or Nagasaki. But the other side of the argument is this: from a biblical standpoint, Gog and Magog, and that whole the whole biblical standpoint from Revelation. We know, biblically speaking, for those of you who believe in Revelation and tribulation and so forth, the end times, is that China and Russia, along with Germany, Iran, and other nations, make their way down to destroy Israel. And unfortunately, England, Australia, the United States, and all the lion cubs, which make up all the countries, they're wiped out, along the way. And nuclear, bombs and missiles are described very vividly in Revelation. So that to think that Russia may or may not make use of nuclear missiles is not far from the imagination.
Okay. We're going to jump back to the previous conversation about men gaining or losing muscle mass and women gaining muscle mass. And Vicky, who is an executive producer of Boogie with the Bull and did the time, probably jumped into our notes history, found the answer to two questions. One is, when a male starts taking estrogen, they lose muscle mass. And the other is, again, obviously the opposite, but equally true. When a woman starts taking testosterone, they gain muscle mass. So in theory, there's the answer. If a guy becomes a girl, he loses muscle mass.
Then the men who claim to be women should be tested for estrogen.
No, in the conversion from one to another, you're taking something.
Correct.
And if you're a man,
the man says, I'm going to be a female, and she's saying, no, that lady says that transition. I'm
not getting into the religious argument. No. Just hear me out. Let me word it the way I'm going to word it. I'm not getting into the religious or biblical side of Michael Bolton's song "When a Man Becomes a Woman," or the B side of that single "When a Woman Becomes a Man." I'm not discussing the religious aspects or having to sit with a psychiatrist and convince them whether or not you're going to do it. All I'm saying is that the answer that Vicky gave is the one that basically makes the most sense. When you're a man, if you want to become a woman, you start taking estrogen. And in the process of taking estrogen, you lose muscle mass. So if that's true, that you're becoming that you're a man and you're hoping to become a female, well, maybe you lose muscle mass. But by the same token, if you're a star athlete man and you're going to flip and become a star athlete female, there's a conversion process. And I'm sure that there are people taking care of making sure you maintain as much muscle mass that you're needed for whatever thing you're going to do. But the actual conversion of a man becoming a woman and a woman becoming a man, because they were born one and believe they're the other, and it doesn't have anything to do with trying to go from college and get drafted into the WNBA as opposed to not being able to get drafted into the NBA. I don't. There's too much. There's too much sports medicine that I don't think belongs in the discussion at that point. I'm just talking about when you go from one to the other or the other to one.
What I'm trying to say is
what happens.
You're losing traction here. What I'm trying to say is this: is first off, that guy stands a foot and a half, 2 foot taller than the women. Okay, so in the sense of the swimming. Okay, so you're at the edge of the swimming pool. Okay, so you dive in. Okay, so the further you can dive in, you're getting the advantage already because you already got a foot and a half into the pool. Okay, so he has that advantage to start off with.
But that's not.
Come on, let me finish.
Go ahead. But I mean, what you're doing, I'm going to cut you off because what you're saying is size matters. And I'm Jewish and I know that size doesn't matter. But the reality is that if you're a guy and you're 7'2" and you're a girl and you're 6'9", you have the same body mass when it comes to playing the same body mass, and you should be playing basketball either way.
See, this is why I don't like coming along with you. Let me finish. You got a guy in a woman's sports who shouldn't be there to start with, okay? Here, when you see him standing side by side, getting his damn award, he shouldn't be getting, okay? In my world, he shouldn't be getting it, okay? He stands a foot and a half, 2 feet tall. When you're on the edge of the pool, getting ready to jump in, he already has a foot and a half to 2. And what's that lady's name that gave the information? I'm not sure if what her response is to what I'm about ready to say. So, Dave, zip it, okay?
No, Vicky, right. Vicky said, we're wonderfully and fearfully made by our Heavenly Father. If that's part of what you want to believe. But if you were going to be born to be a star athlete in a particular sport, and that's what God decided you were going to be, why wouldn't you have been born in the body that God needed you to be in?
What? Let me say what I want to say, Dave. A man, okay, God, when that sperm hit that egg for that moment in time, he was born a male. Leave it alone. So let's leave it go, okay? He is 20-some months, whatever his age is. He decided to be a female, okay? He sucked during his time as a male. He sucked at sports. He decides, I want to be a female because I can do so much better in female sports. Bam. He's winning women's sports. Why? Because he has the body, he has the muscles of a man in women's sports, and he can do a whole lot better. Boom.
Well, then I got to throw at you then Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner, when she was Bruce, said that when he was 8 years old and Bruce, he knew he was in the wrong body, and at some point he was going to have to make a change. I call him a hypocrite because what he did was he remained in sports because he didn't want to let his father down. He was making a good living, and then years after he was washed up and had money set aside, he went and made the change. You have to ask her why she didn't make the change back then.
I'm 30 minutes into a conversation. Can I get this done? Can we go back to him? Please. I told you, let's table him. Let me get this out so I can get the response back from the old lady. What I'm trying to say is, okay, I'll abbreviate, okay? He shouldn't be in women's sports. He has male muscular muscles that makes him better and stronger than the females. If she's saying that the female hormones that she's getting should theoretically reduce the size of his muscles, making him equal to a woman muscle mass, then when he should be having done, so like in the Olympics, he should be getting tested to make sure that female hormone is in his blood system. If it's not showing up in his blood system, then he's not taking it, which means his male muscular system is still in place, which makes him stronger.
Okay, so if the WNBA offered Caitlyn Jenner a job, and Caitlyn Jenner took all the tests that you said she would need to take to prove to you that she is on estrogen, she became a female, her parts were changed to all male parts, she's anatomically a woman, are you saying she can't play in the WNBA?
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about.
Well, you have to be, because what you're saying is a guy that makes the change to a girl and goes into and becomes an athlete has to be able to prove to you that they're basically no longer a guy. So it has to be the same. It has to be the same then if Caitlyn Jenner, if the best team in the WNBA were to offer Caitlyn Jenner the best job on the team and she wants to take it, I don't see any reason why she can't take it if physically and whatever she meets, she can prove that the conversion is done and it's what it needs to be.
Any guy or any gal making the sex change needs every part changed and must be taken the appropriate hormone change to keep that change in place.
Okay, so then what is the difference then if a guy wants to become a girl, changes everything they need to change to become a girl, is taking the estrogen like they're supposed to, is basically a girl, then what is the problem with that person playing as a female in a female sport, because that's what they are.
Okay. I don't have any problems I don't have any problems as long as they prove that they are taking those hormones.
Right. But okay. the big question isn't from people on your side of that discussion isn't whether or not they can prove that they are a female, they had all the surgery done, they're taking all the estrogen and everything that they're supposed to take, they're not cheating and taking illegal sports drugs or anything. The other side of this equation is saying that they can't, because you're born a male, you can't become a female. This is nobody on your side of the argument, at least no one that I've had the argument with, has said if a guy becomes a girl and wants to go play girl sports and can prove that they are a girl, physically, mentally, and taking whatever they needed to do to convert their male body to a female body, the religious right is saying you can't do that because God has two sexes. You're either born a male or you're born a female, and that's the way when you go into the oven to be returned to ashes to ashes, dust to dust, as it was in the beginning, it'll be in the end.
See, problem.
You can't change what God created.
See, my problem is this. My problem are the parents and the schools telling a child, an adolescent, that they are a boy when child is born.
No, okay, but I mean, you see it. You see it every day on TV that it's happening, and in some cases, the parents were charged. What happened? There's an episode of Law and Order SVU where SVU gets called into whatever, and it turns out that twin boys were born the same day, the same time. Both were born as boys, but there was a problem with the boy, and the parents had to make a decision whether or not to change the boy to a girl or face the possibility that they might lose their child. So they made the decision. The boy grew up with the born male grew up understanding that his twin sister was actually born that way until he found out later that both found out later that she wasn't, and the parents were charged with something, I don't remember what, and the doctor who did it and saw them through the conversion of at birth to where they were at that time, that doctor was basically thrown out of being able to practice. But my belief is that, okay, fine, then you say you're going to run into a problem because a guy who thinks he's a girl or a girl who thinks he's a guy is very likely to, at some point, if you say, well, you can't decide to have that surgery until you're 18 and legally yourself. And my fear is that someone who spends 18 years in a guy's body or a girl's body and realizes that at 15 they can't handle it anymore and they kill themselves over it, what are you going to do?
But there are legal ways where that teenager can make himself legally of age. He can go to an attorney and he gets.
So then, okay, but then again, you have to answer this one. If you give birth to a child tomorrow, and for the first 7 or 8 years of their life, they want to be a boy. They want to be dressed like a boy. They want to do boy things, or they're a girl and they're a boy and they live like a female.
Then.
And a parent says, okay, they understand that is where they are, and they want to help their child because you want to give your child the best life. They decide that is the best way to raise their child. Why can't they do it?
I mean, if you have a child that's born a male, and for some reason, the child starts showing more of a feminine side, okay, and continues to do so. Obviously, you want to, try and find out if there's some underlying physiological reason for it. And if it's
the obvious thing is because we don't know what causes a brain to we don't know when the switch in the brain. After the brain was created, we don't know what the programming went into that brain, so we don't know what that brain was going to do. So when that girl pops out and thinks she's a boy, or that boy pops out and thinks she's a girl, and that's the way they want to live. That's the way they want to live. That's the way they live.
Okay.
Again,
to
me, the other side of this argument is very firm, usually Christian right. The hardcore right, like the Orthodox Jews, I'm comparing them to the ultimate Christians. They believe that God only had two sexes in mind. Well, he had one because he created Adam. Then he decided Adam had to have a mate, so he created Eve. So there's only two options, but we don't even know if that's true, because God not Jesus, God himself or herself or itself has never come down to earth and said to us, this is what I had in mind when I did this.
Keep in mind too, you have a child, okay, and you're seeing it more and more, and it really sickens me, where the schools, the elementary schools, the pre-kindergarten schools, the library systems are freaking teaching our children all kinds of, God forbid.
But this whole transgender thing has been around longer than what your kids were learning in school.
I'm sorry, what?
What your kids learned in the last 30 years, 60 years in school, this whole argument has been here longer than that. It obviously predates into other cultures, because that's why male Islamists, if they find out you're gay, throw you off a building, because you can't be in it. Well, the extremists believe you can't be a gay Islamic male.
Correct, but the last 10, 15 years, it was more hidden, more in the closet, okay? But now it's out in our faces, okay? It's in our kids' cartoons. It's in our kids' school
books. The gays
books.
in the military were kept in the closet because Bill Clinton said you can't ask him or her, and him or her, don't have to tell.
Do not
so
tell.
They put things in the closet, understanding that at some point, so much stuff was going to be stuffed into the closet that one of these days the closet door was going to blow open and let everything out. I'm just saying that this whole argument isn't, to me, and you just proved that it isn't. It isn't a question of whether or not a boy can become a girl and a girl can become a boy and play the sports that they think they were born to play in the body that they think they should have been born in. That's a minor part of the argument, because what's happening is boys are living as boys, girls are living as girls, and at some point they're deciding for themselves they need to become the other one. It's become a news media. It's become a news media smokescreen in theory, because we're focusing on that instead of focusing on other things, because now it's that boy decides in high school they want to be a girl, which they've been living since the day they were born, and they want to be able to play sports. And the whole argument seems to be, well, you can't change what God created and say that, or you can't say that you want to be how God didn't give birth to you. So if you change what you believe you are, and you have to believe in theory, and anybody who opposes me on this is welcome to come and have the conversation. You can't tell me that God didn't put that person into that body with that brain, and the lesson that they were going to learn is, I'm in the wrong body. I'm born in the wrong body. I'm living the wrong life, and I need to change it. I'm a firm believer, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Before you came down from heaven, shot the tube, and came out of your mother, before that, I believe you sat with God, and God said, Randy, David, I'm sending you into this world, and you're going to live and learn a whole bunch of things. And when you die, you're going to come back and tell me what you learned. So there has to be a reason why everything happened. There has to be a reason why my wife was in a car, and thank God the car got hit, spun, flipped over, and she's still alive. There has to be a reason why I got hit by a car on a moped, and I should have died. I shouldn't have lived. I should have scraped my arm right off my body, and I would have killed myself because there wasn't a scratch on the helmet, and the helmet looked like it had been slammed into a brick wall when I took it off. There has to be a reason why things happen in this life. Because if I had a choice, I wouldn't have been born bipolar. I wouldn't have had something happen that caused peripheral neuropathy. I certainly wouldn't have given my right eye the problem that could eventually lead to blindness in it. I wouldn't have had a bungee cord snap going into a trunk and cut my left retina. So I mean, there are reasons why all of this stuff happens, and it's not just the old saying, shit happens. And again, nobody knows why God made a decision that they made, and this is what you're dealing with in this life.
All I'm saying is, my belief is, a young child that's being exposed to, let me get this out, okay? In school, and a 5-year-old child is being taught it's okay to have anal sex in our school districts. It's okay to have anal sex. It's okay to masturbate. It's okay to experiment. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be lesbian. At 5 years old, okay?
Then you pull your child, right, but then you pull your child out of the public schools where that is being taught, and you send your child to a different curriculum-based school that doesn't teach that.
But not every parent, not every family has that ability.
Then you homeschool
Every family has that ability. So you cannot tell me even cartoons, the commercials they see on TV. A lot of parents say, Bobby, Jane, sit in the TV, watch TV until mommy has supper made. You cannot tell me that what's being exposed to them is not having an effect on what they think. Because when they go to the library, come on, you see it all the time. Let me finish. We're almost out of time. They go to the library to have that library experience, and you have that transvestite read it in a damn dress outfit, and they're reading those books to the children. And the parents, they think that's fantastic. All these things, all these exposures make these children think.
But would you feel the same way if it was Bozo the Clown sitting at the library reading to your child?
Bozo the
Clown. Because the clown. Oh, right. Okay. But we've already had the discussion that if you don't like the curriculum that's being taught in the public schools, there are options. And there are homeschool options. If you can't be home to teach your child during the day, there are homeschool options. There are homeschool communities. There are, they meet periodically. They do the same field trips and stuff that a public school would do. So, I mean, there are plenty of opportunities to teach your child curriculum that you want them to learn the way they need to learn.
But until recently, the Democrats have done everything possible to prevent families from getting those credits or whatever to do homeschooling.
But that's a crock, though, because my grandson is homeschooled. Jen has 5 kids that she's homeschooled. I believe the oldest is over 18. So, again, the curriculum is out there. If you want to find the curriculum for the courses that you need to take so that your child can at least show that when they graduate high school and get a diploma, even though it's homeschool, that you have the same knowledge. It doesn't, okay, Vicky, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. That's all I'm saying. This like I said to Randy, and Randy basically agreed with me that this argument really isn't this argument that's going on right now about transgenderism right now is solely based on guys who want to become girls so they can play in women's sports. And everybody is saying, well, that shouldn't happen. Randy basically said at the beginning of the broadcast that if a guy goes through the whole conversion, is taking the estrogen, whatever, and basically tests that they are female, they've made the conversion, which they felt they needed to do, they are male or female, and then they should be able to play sports. And then my big thing was I was already past that, because I've said what's going to happen is you're going to have a boys football team, a girls football team. You're going to have transgendered male football and transgendered female football, because no parent is going to want their kid, no parent wants their son playing against a girl because they may hurt the girl. No girl wants them playing against a boy because they may hurt the boy, and everything else. All I'm trying to say is forget it. Get past all of that, because people are going to court and getting judgments, and the government's paying for it while they're in prison. Bradley Manning became Chelsea Manning. We paid for it because he was in prison. He was in prison, and he got it done while he was in prison at the taxpayer's expense. So it's happening, okay? And it's going to continue happening, okay? And Vicky, so you know a truth. Well, some people are okay being that way, being born into one body and living the way that they want to live, and they stay that way.
I guess my biggest question is, why aren't the women's groups coming out and saying this is not fair? These men should not be playing in women's sports.
Because they're accepting, most likely, what everybody keeps saying that they're not accepting is that they have, for all intents and purposes, become the female that they were supposed to be, or think they were supposed to be, and why shouldn't they be able to play? You answered it earlier.
I'll end this conversation on the same topic with one other thing, then it's time for me to go, and that is this. There was this guy, it's a true story, a man somewhere out west. He was murdering people. He got arrested, thrown into a man's prison. Decided to become a woman, so the state paid for his
doctor. If it's the case I think of, he was a doctor.
So he got paid for the sexual sex change. He got released after a period of time. He starts out, he's killing women because he hates women. Okay, so but Chelsea Manning was in prison as Brad, and she got the conversion, and she's not out killing people. But see, you're upset. So he's out killing. Let me finish. So he's out killing women, okay? So he got arrested again. So the question is, where do we put him? In a men's prison where he's now a woman, or into the women's prison where he's killing women?
Well, you made the decision earlier when I said, if they have made the conversion and they are now what they wanted to be, then that's what they are. If she goes out and commits murder again, she's going to go to prison. And if she's a threat to the general population because of how she became a female, then it becomes the state's responsibility to put that person in protective custody, which is they're going to probably be in solitary and get out of the cell if they're lucky for an hour a day, and that's it. I mean, you can't have it both ways, where you're going to say, you were in prison and we made you a woman and you've been living as a woman, but you've been out murdering women, so now we're going to take you and make you a man and put you back in a man's prison.
Well, they put
Personally, what I'm saying is,
you gotta get this female male damn injection, just end it for God's sake.
Well, what I'm saying, okay, well, you want to go off into that tangent of this discussion. My tangent is that I don't care what you were when you went into prison and what you want to be when you get out of prison. It's not the taxpayer's responsibility to pay for.
Yeah, but you know what? The friggin' socialist Democrats say, you know what? If you're in prison and you want to be male or female, we're going to pay for the operation for you. And
and in 2022, when the House flips to be Republican, odds are that's not going to happen anymore. That's not going to happen anymore. It's my own fault because I told Randy when we started to transition into this that I really didn't want to have this conversation because, like I said, it seems to me that people on both sides of the argument are hypocrites, and that honestly, really, it's between the person and the person that has to thinks they need to make a change, and it's up to that person to decide whether or not they need to make a change and when the change needs to be done. And if you're a minor and your parents agree with you, then you want to think that they're going to help you make that change. And if they're not, then, we see what happens every day. People run away and they make the change or they do whatever. I mean, there's no right answer. There's no right answer there. I mean, but if you're raised one way and says this is not allowed to happen because it isn't what God wants, then I respect that you have that core value and you're whatever. I don't remember anything in my 60 years of being Jewish that has God's command either way, or in the 10 commandments that says you can't do it. And the easiest way to say it is God says, honor thy mother and thy father. It's very simple. So I think, I would look at God if I had the opportunity one day and say, my father became my mother and my mother became my father. I'm still supposed to love them and love them for who they are, right? God's probably going to say, yes, you're supposed to love them for who they are. But I also have a firm belief that I haven't seen anything that God says that two males can't get married and adopt a child. Two males can't get together and one becomes female and one is the male and they produce a child. If you love your child and you support your child, whatever they are, however they are, you're going to be there. You're going to be there for them. But like I said, this part of the conversation was really not the way to go, because it's like I'm heavily opinionated one way, and the conservative branch of several religions is the other way. So, and I want to come back and say, well, who are we to know what God wants, and not just accept that the Pope, who claims he's the only one who talks to God, the rest of us just think we're talking to God, but, the Pope is the only one who talks to God, and we have to believe that whatever the Pope says God said is what God said. But it's also the same thing. Moses went to the mountain and came back with a tablet with 10 commandments on it. And yeah, we have to believe that God gave the rules to Moses, and Moses printed out the tablet and brought it down to us and said, these are God's rules. And, again, we don't know if God talked to Moses or if Moses had some kind of psychotic episode and did whatever and came down and said, this is what it's supposed to be. So it's like I said to a lot of people discussing today's broadcast before I even knew what topics we would be talking about tonight. The whole point of this broadcast is to get people in the live chat, commenting and being a part of the broadcast, because it isn't so much me or Randy or any other guest anchor that's on here. The whole idea is to just get a conversation going out there and get people to hopefully decide for themselves. Okay, it never was me cracking open a history book or cracking open whatever, a newspaper article, and saying, you have to agree with this, you have to agree with that. I'm just a guy who likes to talk, getting a bunch of people together who like to talk, and some unfortunately have to type. And we have a conversation. And at the end of the conversation, I hope people have learned, a lot of information is put into your brain, and you have to decipher it and decide what you believe or disagree with and make a decision for yourself. I'm not here to make your decisions for you. I don't need to. I have enough trouble making my own decisions. So Randy cut because we went over 9 o'clock, I'm sure. And normally what happens on the 8 o'clocks is the first couple of minutes, everybody gets to make an opening statement, uninterrupted. They get to speak and make an opening statement. Then we kind of just have a round table on a topic, and we go until 8:50, 10 minutes of 9. And that last 10 minutes is equally divided up between all of the guest anchors, as well as anybody in the live chat that wants to make a comment. And then usually I take the last 15 minutes for me, because there's always someone or something to promote. Like on Monday at 8 o'clock, Becca Joyce, who got interviewed by Jen Woodruff last Wednesday about growlouder.com, capital GROW, capital LOUDER.com, growlouder.com. Becca's website that has several documentation kits together to help you fight the jab. I believe there is a kit that helps you get your children exempted. There is one that helps get you exempted by religious exemption. There's a kit to help you refuse your employer's mandate, if there is one, and another one to help you appeal if you lose your job because of an employer's mandate and you didn't get vaccinated. And Becca's also an ordained minister, and part of the interview last Wednesday was supposed to cover the religious exemption kit, but I believe Becca said to me the other day that there are some updates to how states are handling the religious exemption. So Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, Jen Woodruff and Becca Joyce are going to have round 2 of that conversation concerning the updates to religious exemption in the states, and whatever else gets kicked around on Wednesday of next week at 8 p.m. I'm trying to put together a kind of original mishmash of Boogie with the Bulls by taking Jen Woodruff, who will give a history lesson, and then taking Bill Muckler, who wrote the 2020 books, and Bill will give some experience and knowledge based on his being a retired Marine captain, and in some cases living through the history that Jen will bring up. And Bill will take his knowledge from writing the 2 books, as well as his personal living through it, and bring that into a open discussion, and then we'll go from there. And those broadcasts will be always on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. I don't know how the schedule will go. It depends on Bill's availability. So every so often there'll be a series of those going. You go to Bill Muckler's Facebook page and you'll see his ad post for the books. They're both on his website, 2020americabook.com. 2020americabook.com. There is the birthday buy one get one free special, so that if you're buying it for someone for their birthday or for yourself for your birthday, if you buy one, you get one free. If you tell him that you heard about the books and the website 2020americabook.com, if you tell him that you heard about them on Boogie with the Bull, he will do the same thing, buy one get one free. He does sign the books, so if you're giving them as a gift, or keeping them for yourself, or giving them as gifts, he will autograph the book for the person. And if you tell him, he'll create something special for each person. There'll be some very interesting broadcasts. So, like I said, Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, join us for Becca Joyce from growlouder.com. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Hopefully it'll be a history lesson with Jen, tied in with Bill Muckler's books and his knowledge, and whatever else comes up in the program. Special thanks do go to Vicky Schaffner, who knows, I can be a royal pain in the butt, but I'm going to scroll back to the beginning of the broadcast because I want to make sure I get this right. Special thanks to Vicky, who shared us on Twitter, Facebook, or I put us on Facebook, Signal, Getter, MeWe, True Social, Instagram, and Parler. I then asked her if she got it on Streetlock. I don't know if she did. I'll put it on Streetlock, I promise. If it's not already there, I will share it to Streetlock as a podcast. She did get it onto Telegram. She didn't get it onto Gab. I'll get it onto Gab, Vicky, because the group that we have on Gab, Americans for Free Speech, is going to become Wake Up America, and or Boogie with the Bull, one of the two. Probably it may become Wake Up America. And I'll make sure that it gets posted in there. We made the decision to grow so much, so fast, meaning not just keep it on Facebook, but to get it out and around off of Facebook where it can go, show people what we're capable of. Yeah, I do get a little irate at sometimes, or a little over dramatic, but hopefully that keeps people watching. So if you saw it in a group on Facebook, but you didn't enter the live chat, or you didn't comment in the live chat, and you commented on that post, then understand that I do go by and I read go to all the posts where I posted it or it was posted, and then I read all of the comments. I will often invite everybody to the next broadcast. Comments are very important. We want to make this thing the best that we can. We want to get out to everybody that we can. We want to get everybody involved in it as we can. This live broadcast stuff is a little different to me than sitting in front of a microphone, looking at a computer screen and ad-libbing around what I see on the screen. You got to look at my face and this, that, and the other thing. Anybody who knew about the 3 biopsies that were done on me, one on the top of my head and 2 on my left hand, they did come back precancerous. They were frozen for a second time, and as long as they continue to do what they should do, my derm believes that freezing them will get rid of them. They won't turn cancerous. There won't be any cancer there because it'll all be taken care of while they are in the pre-cancerous stage. Next checkup is 3 months from now. And if we want to talk my health, for the biggest April Fool of all, my second colonoscopy is on April Fool's Day. And when I asked the gastroenterologist who was going to do it, can I live stream it on my Boogie with the Bull broadcast? He said no. So I didn't think he would let me anyway. But Biggie, I know nobody's right, nobody's wrong. That's what I said today on one of the promo posts for tonight in a Facebook group. I said nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just get us together and all have a conversation, learn how everybody feels, and then walk away having learned a little bit more and make our own decisions. So I get this whole idea from my good buddy up in Boston at WBZ AM, 10:30 on the AM dial. Dan Ray does a show called Nightside with Dan Ray. He's been doing it for, I don't know, I'm 60 years old, and I can remember listening to it in Boston when I was 9 years old, like my grandson, and I still listen to it when I can in my 60s. But no, I don't. It's been a good 30 years, I believe, that he's been doing it. But Dan had a belief that reasonable adults can disagree reasonably. Nobody goes off and yells and screams and cuts people off. Unfortunately, that's a platform I have mastered, though, and everybody knows that I apologize when I do. But Dan Ray's Nightside broadcast is 10:30 a.m. on WBZ. You can get it on WBZ.com off the internet. Dan's broadcast can be heard live from Boston in 38 United States, 6 Canadian provinces, part of Mexico, I think even down into South America, and all over the internet. I mean, he's got military men and women all over the world that tune in and comment. On Facebook, Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern. Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern, Dan has a live Nightside pregame broadcast that either he or producer Lightning, Marita, who is his executive producer, will come on, and they'll talk about what's going on on Nightside that night. Also, Dan started doing a live podcast Nightside post game that starts at midnight. I don't know how late it goes because I'm already asleep at midnight. So even if I tuned in at 8 o'clock to listen to the broadcast, I'd be dead asleep by midnight. Maybe one night I'll figure out a way to chime in. But a great guy. Would love to try to get him on a Boogie with the Bull broadcast, although it's impossible to get him on an 8 o'clock weeknight broadcast because he's on 8 o'clock to midnight, maybe on a Saturday, maybe on a Sunday. I don't really know. When he started doing Nightside pregame to promote the broadcast on Facebook every night, I was living up in Massachusetts at the time, and I always had said to him, one of these days I'm going to come up and do a Boogie with the Bull broadcast from the Dan Ray Theater up at the iHeart Media Complex in Medford, Massachusetts, and never did quite do it, but maybe one of these days. You never know. Maybe it might happen. But if anyone sees Dan, tell him he is more than welcome. His schedule is so tight from the morning when he wakes up to right about the time he goes on, and then he's done, and he gets ready for tomorrow, sends out a lot of stuff, answers a lot of email and other things from the broadcast, and it's just not time. I know I bury his messenger box by sending him the Boogie with the Bull broadcasts whenever I get a chance, and always value his thought. Maybe that's, like I said, one of these days we'll get him on somehow. It'll be a whole lot of fun. And as other people say and have been saying lately, If you think you woke up and are facing 30 days of darkness, well, maybe you haven't woken up at all. And hence the name Wake Up America. It's time to make some changes and do what we have to do in November to flip the House, the Senate, give us a Republican 2/3 majority of Congress or whatever is needed, and get a lot of stuff done before the 2024 election, and come up with a serious candidate. I don't care who it is at this point, Donald Trump, Rick DeSantis, hardcore Republican who's ready to rock and roll and return us back. I used to hear every time a Democrat took over for a Republican that even if it was just one term, that they say every time that happens, 4 years of a Democrat president after however many years of a Republican president, that just in those 4 years, we pushed the country back 25 years. We don't have time to push America back 25 years. We just need to make some changes, and there were a bunch of mistakes that were made. I might even be able to say there were a bunch of mistakes on both sides. But as far as I'm concerned, there are some mistakes that needed to be made. We're way off, way off course. And we need to just unite, get focused, and get ourselves back. I did start to tell you a week or so ago that gas prices were going to hit something. I said maybe $5 and work their way down to $3.50. Well, in the Middleburg, Fleming Island, Orange Park area here in Florida, we didn't hit $5. We did hit $4.50. Most of the $4.50 stations are down under $4.25 a gallon. Most around $4.09 and $4.11, and that's the major brand gases. And BJ's was $3.93 when we moved here in November, went up to $3.99 one day when we filled it. Then our son went to fill one of their cars, and it was $4.05. I don't know where it is right now. The BJ station around the corner from our house, it's open 24 hours, was $4.50 when we moved in, and they're down to $4.09. And the person that I asked is someone who's there all the time. She said she honestly doesn't know. It's not in her department. She just works there and rings it up at whatever price she's told to ring it up. But if they went down to $4, I'd be happy because BP is decent gas. If they went down to, if they ended up at $3, I'd be happy. They got down to $3.50. I could live with it. And if you're thinking about heeding Joe Biden's mandate and getting rid of your fossil fuel car and getting an electric vehicle, heed my warning. Go finance $50,000 worth of debt for 60 months and a huge electric bill that's going to come with it. I'm going to keep driving my 2001 Toyota with an 18.5 gallon tank, gets about 25 miles a gallon average, and be happy. Anyway, it's 9:30 and it's bedtime here at Boogie with the Bull. So you all go make it a great evening, and we'll see you on Monday at 8 o'clock.